Welcome to Taiwanica. This podcast is for people in Taiwan who just don't want to keep on following the same patterns that they usually do. And today we're going to learn how to figure out how to step back from those patterns and make little changes by actually staying consistent. And here's your host, a man who used to swim for 10 straight years, Eric Matthews. 我需要面对什么? If this really works, what would I need to face? That question cuts deeper than the previous one, or something that most people ask, like, will this work? That's not always the real question. Because if you ask a deeper question like, if this works, what will it require from me? If talking to your boss could work, would you have to face discomfort of speaking clearly? No. If learning a new skill could work, you would have to face the discipline of practicing. If you ask for something to help you work better, you would have to ask someone, and that would have you face vulnerability of not doing it alone. If changing your health could work, you would have to face the habits that are keeping you tired. If improving your relationship could work, you would have to face the truth you keep avoiding. And that is why the mind says, yeah, but, because the solution is not just asking you to believe in something new, it is asking you to become someone new. And that is where the real resistance lives. Okay, so there are two types of butt. I'm not talking about the butts on your cheeks. The ones I'm talking about are the ones that are keeping us stuck. The first one is useful. The second one is destructive. Useful but sounds like this. That idea is interesting, but I need to adjust it to my situation. Good. That is intelligent. That means you are thinking. Destructive but sounds like this. That idea is interesting, but it won't work for me. Let me say that again. That idea is interesting, but it won't work for me. And then you stop. No testing, no adapting, just rejection. And that is not wisdom. That is simply a protection system to keep you small. So here's the difference. A victim asks, 为什么不行? Well, why won't this work? A builder, a creator, asks something like this. 怎么让它可行? How can I make this work? Same problem, different identity. And the identity matters, because if you identify as someone who always says, 我没办法, or I can't, then your brain will search for proof. But if you identify as someone who asks, 我可以先试试看，然后就找哪一部分可以, or what part can I test first? Then your brain starts looking for options. That's the shift. It's an invisible shift that will start to change you to be able to start looking out for possibilities instead of getting stuck in the things that are not possible for you. So, imagine this. You are sitting with a friend after work. Maybe you're at a cafe, or maybe you're just outside of 7-Eleven, and you're wanting to send voice messages online. And you say something like, I'm exhausted. I keep working late. My boss keeps adding tasks. Nobody sees how much I do. Your friend says, maybe you should clearly explain your workload. And instantly you say, 可是他不会在乎, or, but he just won't care. Now pause. Maybe you are right. Maybe he won't care. But did you test it? Did you prepare the conversation? Did you write down your workload? Did you ask for priority? Did you say, I can do A or B today, but not both? Which one is more important? In Chinese, that might sound like, 我今天可以先完成 A 或 B, 但两个都做可能会不太现实。那你觉得哪一个比较重要？ So the same thing. If I can complete A or B first today, but finishing both may not be realistic, which one do you think is more important? That's not rude. That is clarity. But most people never get there. They dismiss the conversation before they have it. Then they complain that nothing changes. That is the trap. Most people are not blocked by the boss. They are blocked by the conversation they refuse to have. Most people are not blocked by the market. They are blocked by the skill they refuse to build. And that really sings true to me personally. When I tried to build this business of being a podcaster and a coach, a lot of the things that got in my way was just simply my own refusal to build the skills that were necessary to get bigger and bigger. And some of that was marketing, some of that was training, some of that was communication. And it was just simply because I kept on saying to myself that I am incapable of doing it because I have never had experiences of doing it before. Well, I was right. And I stayed stuck for years saying the same thing. This is not to blame yourself, to be able to understand these things. This is power. Because if the problem is only outside of you, you are trapped. But if a part of the problem is your pattern, then the part of the solution is always in your hands. Okay, so when I had this situation happen to me, that's what I was talking about with building my business, I thought I was really being realistic. I told myself, yeah, but my situation is different. Or, 但可是我的情况不一样. But later I realized the reason I dismissed it was fear of rejection, fear of failure, or the fear of being seen. And a really strong one was the fear of responsibility. Well, then I finally tested it. I realized there is always a place where you can make the episode real. Okay, you can make something that is always going to be a part of your life that you can realize and try, even if you don't feel like you have the ability to do so. It's about seeing what are you telling yourself on a repeated basis and then approaching it with the idea of how you can change your identity. The most important thing to do is to see inside yourself in those particular moments where you're trying to change, but all of a sudden you're feeling a block. Maybe it's you're feeling tired or your mind starts saying lots of negative things. It could be anything. But one of those things that are really testing you in that moment where negativity kicks in, you listen closely to whatever it is that you're saying to yourself, because in that moment, you will find that it's much easier to build honesty around yourself when you find out what is the actual truth of you not growing. And if you start to see that, there are ways for you to start no longer being a part of that. And that's called the no dismissal practice. So that's what I'm going to give you right now. For the next 24 hours, don't dismiss this immediately, okay? Because if you do, you're just going back in the pattern. Just simply, you don't have to agree to everything. You don't have to obey. You don't have to change your whole life. Just don't dismiss things immediately, okay? If you hear someone give you advice, like I just did, you can say, yeah, and I'd like to give it a try, instead of but. Yeah, and instead of yeah, but. Okay? When someone gives you an idea, for example, in English, I just said yeah, and, but in Chinese, you could say, 那我可以先试哪一部分? What part can I try first? That is powerful, because now you are not blindly accepting. You are not automatically rejecting either. Okay? You are just testing. And this is how growth happens. not through dramatic life changes, not through small experiments, but just trying out one conversation, one message, one new habit, or one uncomfortable action. Now, I'm going to challenge you directly here. If you keep dismissing everything that could help you, you don't get to complain that nothing helps. That might sound harsh, but it's true. If every tool is not right, if every method is not for me, if every opportunity is bad timing, every suggestion gets a 可是 or a but, then maybe the problem is not the tool. Maybe the problem is your relationship with change. Some people are not looking for a solution. They're looking for a solution that does not require discomfort. That solution does not exist. Growth will cost you something. Maybe comfort, maybe pride, maybe an old identity. Maybe the story says, 我就是这样. This is just how I am. But the cost of staying the same is higher. You just pay it slowly in some painful and miserable ways. Like some money is like stress, other money is regret, or another way of paying for it is just being frustrated. And then year after year, you're doing more or less the same thing with a slightly different calendar. So don't ask, can I avoid discomfort? Ask something like this. Which discomfort is worth it? The discomfort of testing a new path? Or the discomfort of staying exactly where you are? So let's come back to the question. When you say, yeah, but, ask, what would I have to face if this actually could work? Or in Chinese, 如果这真的有用，我需要面对什么? That question cuts through the noise. Because your first answer may be about circumstances, but the deeper answer will be about identity. If this could work, I would have to admit I've been avoiding. If this could work, I would have to become more disciplined. If this could work, I would have to stop blaming my situation. If this could work, I would have to actually try. This is where freedom begins. Not in motivation, in honesty. Now, listen carefully. If this episode made you uncomfortable in the right way, if you heard yourself in the yeah, but pattern, and if you knew there was a decision or a conversation or a next step you keep dismissing, then don't let this become another podcast episode you agree with and forget. That would be the same pattern again. You understand, you feel inspired, then nothing changes. So here is your next move. I'm opening space for a free 30-minute coaching chat with me personally. Not with a random person, with me. In that conversation, we'll look at where you feel stuck, what 可是 keeps coming up, and what limiting belief may be blocking your clarity and purpose. 如果你一直就卡在可是里面，这可能不是身体不够，而是就是你需要的就帮你就再清楚真正的限制的先经验。Man, that was a mouthful. Let me just say it in English. If you keep getting stuck in the yeah, but, maybe the problem is not the lack of information. Maybe you need someone to help you see the real limiting belief. And if it feels like a good fit, I'll show you how my coaching packages can help you grow deeper, build real clarity, and start taking action with support. So don't dismiss this. Don't say, yeah, but I'll do it later. That is the pattern. Break it now. Go to the link in the episode description and book your free 30-minute coaching chat with me. Let's find the belief and let's find the next step. And let's move. Your but is not always wrong. sometimes it is protecting something real. But if you never question it, it becomes the wall between who you are and who you could become. So this week, don't dismiss. Test. Don't protect the old story. Challenge it. Don't say, 可是, ask, 我先可以是哪一部分? What part can I try first? That's how change begins. Not with the perfect plan. With one honest experiment. That is the episode. See you next time. Hey, thanks for listening to this whole episode. We have an opportunity for those who are still around. If you are interested in getting a free Starbucks coffee, listen closely. We are offering these coffees to 3 lucky people who leave reviews on Apple Podcast about the episode that we are making here at Taiwanica. If you do a review by the end of June 2026 and your name is clearly written in the review, I will call you out in the episode saying you're the lucky winner if you are the one chosen, and then we will find a way to connect so you can get your free coffee for your help to make Taiwanica a better and well-known podcast. If that interests you, go ahead and just go to Apple Podcast and write a 5-star review about your experience here. Thank you so much.